When a ground fault occurs and the neutral conductor is open, the fault current seeks the ground path because the ground path offers the least resistance. The absence of a complete neutral path prevents the fault current from returning directly to its source through the intended neutral conductor. Instead, the current will find an alternate route, which in this scenario is the grounding system. This system is intentionally designed to provide a low impedance path for fault currents to return to the source. The key components involved in this process are firstly, the equipment grounding conductor, and secondly, the power company's grounding system. The equipment grounding conductor, often referred to as the EGC, is a crucial safety component within an electrical system. It is typically a wire, or in some cases a metallic conduit, that connects the non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment to the grounding system at the service entrance or separately derived system. The purpose of the EGC is to provide a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, thereby facilitating the operation of the overcurrent protective device such as a circuit breaker or fuse. When a fault occurs, such as when a live conductor comes into contact with a metal enclosure, the fault current will flow through the EGC back to the source. This surge of current through the EGC creates a low impedance path, causing a large amount of current to flow quickly. This high current is designed to trip the overcurrent protective device, which then disconnects the circuit and interrupts the flow of electricity, preventing electrical shock or fire hazards. Because the neutral is open, the typical return path for current is disrupted. This forces the fault current to utilize the EGC to return to the source. The EGC connects to the grounding electrode system, which is connected to the earth. This connection to the earth provides an additional path for fault current to flow back to the source. The power company's grounding system plays a vital role in ensuring the safety and reliability of the electrical grid. Utility companies typically ground their systems at multiple points, including at the substation and at each transformer. This grounding provides a low impedance path for fault currents to return to the source, similar to the role of the EGC in premises wiring. The power company's grounding system is designed to handle large fault currents and to ensure that the overcurrent protective devices operate quickly and effectively to clear faults. This helps to protect both the utilities equipment and the customers connected to the grid. Now let's consider why the overcurrent device, or OCD, may not open in this specific scenario. The overcurrent device, such as a circuit breaker or fuse, is designed to protect electrical circuits from excessive current flow, which can be caused by overloads or short circuits. The OCD is calibrated to trip or blow when the current exceeds a predetermined threshold. However, in some situations, the fault current may not be high enough to trigger the OCD to operate. Several factors can contribute to this. Firstly, the impedance of the fault path, secondly, the magnitude of the fault, and thirdly, the characteristics of the OCD. If the fault path has a relatively high impedance, it can limit the amount of fault current that flows. This can occur if the EGC is undersized, poorly connected, or if there are other sources of resistance in the ground path. In such cases, the fault current may be below the tripping threshold of the OCD, and it will not open the circuit. Even if the fault path has a lower impedance, the magnitude of the fault current may still not be high enough to trip the OCD. This can occur if the fault is a relatively minor one, such as a small leakage current to ground. In such cases, the fault current may be below the tripping threshold of the OCD, and it will not open the circuit. The characteristics of the OCD itself can also affect whether or not it opens in response to a fault. For example, some circuit breakers have a time delay feature that allows them to withstand brief overloads without tripping. This can be useful in preventing nuisance tripping, but it can also delay the response to a fault. Similarly, fuses have different melting characteristics that can affect how quickly they blow in response to an overcurrent. It's important to understand that even if the OCD does not open, the fault current can still pose a significant hazard. Even a relatively small fault current can cause equipment damage, create a fire hazard, or even cause electrical shock. Therefore, it's essential to ensure that the grounding system is properly installed and maintained to minimize the risk of electrical hazards. In the event that the overcurrent device does not open, the fault current will continue to flow through the ground path until the fault is cleared. This can result in a sustained fault current, which can lead to several potential problems. Firstly, overheating of equipment. Secondly, insulation breakdown. And thirdly, fire hazard. The continuous flow of fault current can cause the equipment and conductors to overheat, potentially damaging insulation and other components. Prolonged overheating can also lead to insulation breakdown, which can further increase the risk of electrical shock or fire. If the fault current is high enough, it can ignite nearby combustible materials, creating a fire hazard. This is especially a concern in areas where there are flammable materials or dust. Therefore, it's crucial to promptly identify and clear any faults to prevent these potential hazards. Regular inspection and testing of the electrical system can help to identify potential problems before they escalate into serious issues. This includes checking the continuity of the EGC, testing the operation of the OCD, and inspecting for any signs of damage or deterioration. In summary, in a situation where there is an open neutral and a ground fault occurs, the fault current will seek the ground path as the path of least resistance. The equipment grounding conductor, EG, plays a crucial role in providing a low impedance path for the fault current to return to the source, and the power company's grounding system provides an additional layer of protection. However, the overcurrent device may not always open in such situations, and it's essential to promptly identify and clear any faults to prevent potential hazards. It's important to emphasize the importance of proper grounding and bonding in electrical systems. Grounding refers to the connection of the electrical system to the earth, which provides a reference point for voltage and helps to stabilize the system. Bonding refers to the connection of all non-current carrying metal parts of the electrical system together, which creates a low impedance path for fault current to flow. Proper grounding and bonding are essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. They help to minimize the risk of electrical shock, fire, and equipment damage. In addition to proper grounding and bonding, it's also essential to ensure that all electrical equipment is properly installed and maintained. This includes following the manufacturer's instructions, using appropriate wiring methods, and regularly inspecting for any signs of damage or deterioration. Regular maintenance can help to identify potential problems before they escalate into serious issues. This includes checking the tightness of connections, inspecting for any signs of corrosion, and testing the operation of overcurrent protective devices. It's also important to ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians. Electricians have the training and experience to safely and effectively install, maintain, and repair electrical systems. They are also familiar with the relevant codes and standards, such as the National Electrical Code, or NEC, which provides comprehensive requirements for electrical installations. The NEC is a widely adopted code that provides minimum safety standards for electrical installations. It covers a wide range of topics, including grounding, bonding, wiring methods, overcurrent protection, and equipment installation. Compliance with the NEC is essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. It's important to note that electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving to keep pace with technological advancements and to address new safety concerns. Therefore, it's essential to stay up to date on the latest requirements and to ensure that all electrical work is performed in accordance with the current codes and standards. The 2017 NEC contains specific requirements related to grounding and bonding. For example, Section 250.4 covers general requirements for grounding and bonding, including the requirement that the grounding system be designed to limit the voltage to ground and to facilitate the operation of overcurrent protective devices. Section 250.24 covers grounding of service equipment, including the requirement that the service neutral conductor be connected to a grounding electrode system. Section 250.96 covers bonding of metal enclosures and raceways, including the requirement that all metal enclosures and raceways be bonded together to create a low impedance path for fault current to flow. It's also important to understand the difference between grounded and ungrounded electrical systems. Grounded electrical systems have one conductor, typically the neutral conductor, connected to ground. Ungrounded electrical systems do not have any conductor intentionally connected to ground. Grounded electrical systems are generally considered to be safer than ungrounded electrical systems because they provide a low impedance path for fault current to flow, which helps to facilitate the operation of overcurrent protective devices. Ungrounded electrical systems are sometimes used in applications where it is important to maintain continuous operation, even in the event of a ground fault. However, ungrounded electrical systems require special precautions to prevent electrical shock hazards. In conclusion, understanding the ground fault path with an open neutral is crucial for ensuring electrical safety. The equipment grounding conductor and the power company's grounding system play essential roles in providing a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source. However, the overcurrent device may not always open in such situations, and it's essential to promptly identify and clear any faults to prevent potential hazards. Proper grounding and bonding, regular maintenance, and compliance with electrical codes and standards are all essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. The NEC provides comprehensive requirements for electrical installations, and it's important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. Electrical work should always be performed by qualified and licensed electricians. The principles discussed here are applicable to various voltage levels, including 120 volts, 208 volts, 277 volts, and 480 volt systems. However, the specific requirements for grounding and bonding may vary depending on the voltage level and the type of electrical system. For example, high voltage systems may require additional grounding electrodes and bonding conductors to ensure adequate protection. Similarly, industrial electrical systems may require more robust grounding and bonding systems to withstand the harsh operating conditions. It's also important to consider the impact of harmonics on grounding and bonding systems. Harmonics are distortions of the sinusoidal waveform of alternating current, and they can cause increased current flow in grounding conductors. This can lead to overheating and potentially damage the grounding system. To mitigate the effects of harmonics, it may be necessary to install harmonic filters or to use larger grounding conductors. The selection of appropriate grounding electrodes is also important. Grounding electrodes can be made of various materials, including copper, steel, and concrete encased electrodes. The type of grounding electrode that is used should be appropriate for the soil conditions and the type of electrical system. In areas with high soil resistivity, it may be necessary to use multiple grounding electrodes to achieve an adequate ground resistance. The installation of grounding electrodes should be performed in accordance with the NEC requirements. This includes ensuring that the grounding electrodes are properly sized, installed at the correct depth, and connected to the grounding system in a secure and reliable manner. Regular inspection and testing of grounding electrodes are also important to ensure that they are functioning properly. This includes measuring the ground resistance and inspecting for any signs of corrosion or damage. If the ground resistance is too high, it may be necessary to install additional grounding electrodes or to improve the soil conditions. The use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, is another important safety measure to consider. GFCIs are designed to protect people from electrical shock by detecting small leakage currents to ground and interrupting the circuit before a shock can occur. GFCIs are required in certain locations, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas, where there is a higher risk of electrical shock. It's important to ensure that GFCIs are properly installed and tested regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. The testing of GFCIs should be performed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. This typically involves pressing the test button on the GFCI and verifying that the circuit is interrupted. If the GFCI does not trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. In addition to GFCIs, arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs, are another important safety device to consider. SIs are designed to protect against electrical fires by detecting arc faults, which are small electrical arcs that can occur in damaged or deteriorated wiring. SIs are required in certain locations, such as bedrooms, where there is a higher risk of electrical fires. It's important to ensure that SIs are properly installed and tested regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. The testing of a size should be performed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. This typically involves pressing the test button on the FSI and verifying that the circuit is interrupted. If the FSI does not trip when the test button is pressed, it should be replaced immediately. The use of surge protective devices, or SPDs, is also important to protect electrical equipment from damage caused by voltage surges. Voltage surges can be caused by lightning strikes, power grid switching, or other electrical disturbances. SPD are designed to divert the surge current away from the protected equipment, preventing damage. SPD should be installed at the service entrance and at other critical locations throughout the electrical system. It's important to select SPD that are properly rated for the voltage and current levels of the electrical system. The installation of SPD should be performed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. The coordination of overcurrent protective devices is also important to ensure that the electrical system is properly protected. Overcurrent protective devices should be coordinated so that the device closest to the fault will trip first, minimizing the extent of the outage. Coordination studies can be performed to determine the appropriate settings for overcurrent protective devices. These studies take into account the characteristics of the electrical system and the potential fault currents that may occur. The results of the coordination study can be used to select the appropriate settings for circuit breakers, fuses, and other overcurrent protective devices. In conclusion, understanding the ground fault path with an open neutral is just one aspect of ensuring electrical safety. Proper grounding and bonding, regular maintenance, compliance with electrical codes and standards, the use of GFCIs, FSIs, and SPD, and the coordination of overcurrent protective devices are all essential for protecting people and equipment from electrical hazards.